Hey, Gloucester Township. I'm Joe Allen. This is Keith Gibbons.
Got a little feedback on there. We're
Yes.
trying to do this live thing. We got a couple bugs to work out here, guys. So
Somebody's watching the podcast on his phone while doing the podcast.
I just had a notification. What was the guy gonna say?
Hey, Gloucester Township.
I still feel like we're hearing. Oh,
Yeah,
man.
no, we got it all.
All right, there we go.
All figured out now.
All right, folks. Happy Saturday. I guess we are right.
It is Saturday. Yeah, this is different. Well, normally we would have done this last Friday.
Yeah, but we're a little backed up. It's summertime.
little backed
Everybody's busy.
up.
It's
And
too
then,
hot out.
Yeah. So we got a council meeting coming up on Monday, so we figured, man, might as well just do this one live on a Saturday, get it over with. And this one was packed too.
Yeah, there's a lot to go over, so it's
It's been a
fun-filled.
It's been a crazy week, man. Crazy week in the news. Crazy week with
Oh yeah.
all kinds of stuff going on. Just worked a good 30 hours yesterday with the
Tech outage.
the largest IT outage in history.
Really?
Yeah,
In history?
in history. Yeah.
Wow.
Happy to say that I just happened to get lucky and was like, I'm gonna check out what these notifications are. So my company, I alerted everybody, woke everybody up, got on it, and got our company up before the start of the day, while most other companies are waking up and finding out that they were just screwed. So
Wow.
did a hell of a job.
Crazy. All right. Well, in this past meeting, it was July 8th council meeting, and there was some talk about the sewer system that I guess everybody is kind of aware of, or hopefully that they are aware of right now. So we were accepting the bid report, which is basically they put it out for a request for proposal to any company that would be interested to send them what they would propose that they would pay for it, and they opened them all up, and we had 2 bidders for it, right?
Yeah, so that was that's how we kind of kicked off the council meeting. Was they kind of a read through of what it was all about. They were adding to the meeting. So we'll get right into that clip here.
Before we go to the public portion, I wanted to highlight 2 items that are on the agenda tonight. There is a bid report. That bid report will be voted on by the members of council, accepting 2 bids that were submitted in response to the request for bids exploring the sale of the sewer utility. The second item on the agenda is the introduction and the first reading of an ordinance to enter into agreement with the highest and most responsible bidder that responded to the township's request for bids for the sewer utility. On July 2nd, 2 bids were received and were opened here in council chambers. The 2 bidders were New Jersey American Water and Aqua New Jersey. Aqua's bid was opened first, and that bid was for $52 million. New Jersey American Water's bid was then opened, and their bid was for $143 million. Our legal counsel on this matter, Mrs. Sartor, reviewed the bids that afternoon for completion and reported back to Mr. Cardis, Mr. Collimer, and me that New Jersey American Water was the highest responsible bidder. We then proceeded to place the ordinance 024-17 on tonight's agenda for an introduction and first reading. This ordinance is to approve an agreement of sale between the township and New Jersey American Water for the sale of the sewer utility for $143 million and authorizing the proposal to be printed on the November 5th, 2024 ballot for consideration by the residents of Gloucester Township. A second reading of the ordinance and public hearing will take place in the month of August. The bids were submitted by Aqua New Jersey and New Jersey American Water. They are on the township's website for residents to view. In addition to that, the draft agreement of sale, which was signed off by our legal counsel and also New Jersey American Water's legal counsel, is also on the township's website for all residents to review.
All right, shocking numbers as far as I was concerned.
Yeah. I mean, the spread of them was ridiculous.
That was crazy. You would figure if somebody's going to come in at 53, somebody else would probably be in the 40s to 50 range.
And it's not like Aqua doesn't know what they're doing. They are in this business as
They
well.
provide all of our water, yeah.
Like,
So
they're
they know, they know what it takes to provide the water for all these places. So yeah, it was a kind of shocking. A lot more money too than I thought it was going to be. Weren't we looking at like I don't know, when this was proposed, when people were saying that like it's like $12 million.
No, the 12 million number came from because it's anticipated to be over 12 million is where it would need to go, like for referendum.
Oh, okay.
That's where that 12 number came from. But there was in the I don't know what it was, like study report, whatever you want to call it. There was some sort of like value kind of associated with it, and it was around what the Aqua figure was. So where the 143 came from is kind of ridiculous. But in addition to that, though, they also had in there that they're going to spend another $90 million in upgrades over the course, I guess, of the next 10 years or something like that. So, I mean, just from that standpoint alone, if you look at the rate that we pay now of $46 a quarter, and to pay themselves back, this private business that's a for-profit, publicly traded company, to get their money back and have profit out of it, what would your rate have to be? How long do you think that they're in this for? Like, are investors in the stock market be like, oh yeah, 40 or 140 years from now, we'll get our money back if we just keep it at? So that alone right there is going to tell you that your rate is going to go sky high because they need to pay that money back. Not in just 143 million, another 90 that they're charging. And where do they get that money from? The customers. Like, that's who pays that money back.
Yeah, and I think they were looking at like a 10-year turnaround to get their money back.
Okay, so put it at that and do the math. I'm not going to do the math. Where are you going to do the math?
Well, yeah,
how long will it take to
people?
pay?
I think somebody does the math later on, and they basically said, well, look, if they did all this plus if they paid the 143 plus the 90, and then they can only raise the rates.
Well, there was a 9% cap to it, which later on, we'll get into that. Somebody else later on points out that they weren't a responsible bidder. They should have been a non-responsive bidder because they went over the 9% cap that you had on there.
And then apparently after the cap, you would for them to make it up. It would have to be. I thought somebody said it's about $66 a month would be the rate to make the money back.
What, in one of the clips here?
I think somebody. Right. I think somebody at some point said
We'll get to it. We're going to drag on a conversation that we'll play later on. So let's. We got a lot of clips, so we got to try to get through some of this here.
But just a brief summary of Council President Mercado goes over kind of the highlights of what's in this proposal.
Some highlights of the bid. The bid was for $143 million. If voters agree to the sale, all debt must be paid off by the township first. There will be $90 million in capital improvements to the system within the first 10 years. The first 2 years after the possible sale, rates will not be raised, and most of it cannot be raised, and it cannot be raised over the next 3 years more than 9% in total. Any rate increases have to be approved by the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities. New Jersey American Water is offering employment up to 23 existing employees of the sewer utility with similar job duties, with equal or better salary and benefits, and close proximity within the Gloucester Township area.
All right, so yeah, again, $143 million, $90 million in upgrades. There are going to be some rate caps, not to exceed 9% over 5 years.
And they're going to try and give jobs to the people from the MUA who would be losing their jobs.
Yeah, 23. I think 23 jobs they said.
I forget the number.
I don't know how many. I don't know how many that there are on the MUA, but 23 jobs they'll supply for them. For it doesn't say for how long. Yeah. I mean, I would imagine there's going to they would need to do it anyway. They would need to give these guys jobs anyway to transfer everything over. You can't just take over something and guess. So you're going to need them. You're going to need current employees to come along with you. That's the best way to do it. Whether or not they keep them on after that, that's completely up to them at that point, because it's no longer a public entity, so they can do whatever they want after that. So
one of the things I find interesting on this whole our budget to run the MUA, which at that time consisted of recycling and the sewer, right, and the lawn and leaf and all that stuff. It was like a $5 million budget.
Yeah.
So at the rate that we're paying to cover that, I don't know where 143 million comes in. Like, what budget do they need to run as a private company? I don't know. That number's ridiculous to me. I don't know. It
is.
It sounds
In
absolutely
fact,
like you can't, almost like you can't, or an offer you can't refuse kind of a thing. But the payment back, it falls on us, the taxpayers or the ratepayers, whatever you call it.
That's the biggest thing. And there's a clip in the end that really kind of gets to me because they're talking about how great this is going to be for the township and how great this is going to be to like wipe out all of our debt.
That's called propaganda.
We're not going to have any more debt. Don't you want to wipe out the debt? And everybody's going, well, yeah, I'd love to wipe out the debt. But look, so the tax bill that you get, you're going to look at it and go, man, that's a lot better. But then the water bill, you're going to go, whoa, wow.
There's no guarantee it's going to be better.
You're not going to guarantee it, but at least... Look,
your debt services is what, $2 million a year that we pay in that? Okay.
So he's saying we could go, what did he say, like 18% or something like that at the end. So yeah, even if there was
18 cents,
even if there was 18 cents. Even if there was this big like tax decrease over this, you're gonna feel it over here. You're still paying. Right. You're still going to pay off the debt that they incurred.
Right. What you're doing is excusing their poor.
They're shifting the blame now. So now when your water, you say now you're gonna be mad going forward. And anybody new that moves here, they're just gonna be mad at American Water because they're gonna say, "Wow, this is crazy! All this money that we're paying here." So
there's
shifting.
Nothing you can do about it. You can't get it back.
Yeah, you can't get it back. They're just
sell
shifting
the sewer.
it.
It's gone.
Yeah, they're shifting. They're shifting it to kind of take the focus off of them.
That happens all the time around here, though. Just blaming, pointing at you.
Absolutely.
If it goes through, 100% they will point at the the voters.
Oh yeah, this is what you guys wanted.
Yeah.
So that's a really important statement because if you don't vote, you're still going to be the one that wanted it, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that's our thing here. Like what we have a 29% voter turnout last election. So 71% of people didn't vote. So
well, on this topic too, I can't tell you how many times I've been out at ShopRites and out places handing out flyers, trying to get people aware of this this situation. And I can't tell you how many times people that live in an apartment say, "It doesn't affect me. I don't have a sewer." No, you 100% have a sewer, and you're whatever the fee of that, whatever it costs, whoever is the management company or the owner or whatever you want to call it. If that rate goes up for them, guess where it starts to hurt in your rate of your rent. If your rent, just use a round number, say it's $1,000, right? And their costs go up by $100 a month because of this, this increase. Guess what your new rent is going to be? $1,100. Like, you know what I mean? They have to pass that on to you. They're not just eating that. So if you flush your toilet, unless you live in the woods and you're going to the bathroom in a hole in the in the wood, this is going to affect you, and it's going to cost money.
Yeah, and
or I guess you have what's it called, septic, but.
Right. Yeah.
That's why it's affecting ratepayers, not taxpayers.
Right.
Right.
But an important thing here too, when we talk about elections and the amount of people that turn out for elections, just in this situation, before it even gets to election day, people may not know about it.
Mm-hmm.
So they may show up there. I'm sure there's gonna be some propaganda saying how it's great and probably go out in a mailer, but as it is right now, people still don't know. You see a lot of people online talking about it. You're seeing a lot of signs popping up around, but there's still, I'd say more than half of the people in this township don't know about it.
100%, yeah.
So, I mean, you've talked to people. Just the other day, every time my wife says somebody that she works with lives in Gloucester Township, I go ask them if they know about the sewer.
Yeah.
And they're like, I've seen sewer signs. I have no idea what it's about. So, I mean, look, it's really important you're talking to somebody else in the township, go, hey, what do you think about the sewer thing? Yeah. Just ask. I mean, that way there's a conversation about it. Ray Pelladoro also asked some questions after the highlights. Ray Pelladoro gets up and he asks, why is there such a big difference?
There was no real answer. They don't know because they didn't place the bid, but I guess, whatever.
Yeah, so, and then afterwards, so Anthony, MUA, works for the sewer utility right now.
Yeah.
He gets up and asks about what it's going to be on the ballot.
Yeah.
Good evening, Council. Anthony Calabrese, Blackwood.
Good evening.
I just have a quick question on the vote for the proposal. shall the Township of Gloucester and the County of Camden, New Jersey be authorized to sell its wastewater system to New Jersey American Water Company, Inc. for the sum of $143 million? If the vote goes through, is that how is going to be presented on the ballot in November?
At this time, I believe that is just a draft that was put in the agreement. Mr. Cordis?
Yeah, that, I don't believe that that would be the final referendum question. And there's also an interpretation that comes after the referendum itself.
Right.
I don't have that language, and that would be much more detailed than what you just described.
Well, yeah, no, I'm just reading it off of the agenda from Gloucester Township website. I know there is a referendum. I just was wondering if that was going to be.
Yeah, the referendum hasn't been formulated yet.
Okay, so that could-
How that would be.
So that could change from what?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm just asking. All right.
All right, it's an important question too, because for a lot of times these referendums are written by someone who is skilled at this.
Right. There's a bias to it that they want it to lead in one way or the other. Right?
Yes. So they're going to be in charge of writing this referendum so that it looks attractive to it. So going from the start, and we've all seen this before on other referendums. From the start, we've all said, don't just show up to vote no, because we don't know
Right. We don't know how it's going to be worded.
So
Yeah, and that was kind of deceiving, I guess. When it was in the agenda saying just plain simple language like he read there.
Yeah.
Like, why can't it be that? If you wrote it that way for why
Yeah.
can't it be written that simple? So I want to know, and I'm gonna probably send an e-gov in. I'm not gonna be able to make the next meeting because I have a school board meeting that night. But there's a interpretation, I think is what it's called. Is that what the other part is? Like, it's not just the question; it's the interpretation. That do we, the people here, have a say in asking that question? We've talked to some other people who said that we do have a say in there, and there's case law around not allowing us to have a say in that writing of the interpretation. So I'm curious if they think that, they like to exclude us, the public, from anything that they're doing, right? They like to do what they want to do and just, oh, sorry. But I would like to see on the record, like, do we have a say in that? And if so, when and how exactly? Explain it out to us. Like, is that,
Yeah, it really should be. It should be discussed before it winds up on a sample ballot.
Right.
Like it should be discussed how it's going to be worded. Look, I would ask for, okay, it's worded this way that you say. Why? Why is it worded this way? I mean, I want full transparency on everything. It doesn't seem like a big ask, right? But no, we should.
I believe that there's certain criteria that have to be spelled out on it, like the company that's buying it, the amount, and that. I'm not exactly sure what those are, so I don't want to speak on. But I know that there are requirements that have to be in the question, but in the interpretation is where I guess the concern comes in. That's where it can be bias of interpreting this. When you say, like, hey, this is going to make rainbows and stars
at the end,
all over.
which will wipe out the township debt, would make you go, yes,
right?
Yeah,
it doesn't say anything else about what it will cost you or is. It has. I mean, because that question later on, I believe we have a clip of that. It was asked, like, "Hey, are you going to lower our taxes because of this?" And I think the answer back was something along the lines of, like, "I will advocate for that." Why can't that answer be yes? No, it's because no, we don't have to. We'll tell you what you want to hear, which is I'm going to advocate for that. That doesn't mean I'm going to do it. And then if so anyway, let's move on.
Newer guy shows up. Mr. Jerome, they called him. He's got a question about the fees over the next several years. 10 years, I believe he goes.
What is the proposed fees going to be in the New Jersey American Water to me over the next 10 years?
I can't. I have a schedule for the first 5 years. There's no increase for the first 2 years. And the maximum it could be is 9% over the next 3 years.
That's
what's in.
I plan to live in 20 more years in the township, so when we don't have a proposal, we don't know what the options are over 10 years.
No, we have it up to 5 years. As I made in my statement earlier, is that the Board of Public Utilities has to approve any rate increases for them after that time period.
Interesting, thank you.
Okay.
So yeah, that we knew going into this that statement that he used there, that the board has to approve rate increases. We knew that was something that they like hide behind, or that they try to promote as if it's some sort of a protection for us as the new customers, because there are ways for them to increase what your overall bill costs you. Yeah, the rate might not be, but then there's, everyone look at your Comcast bill or your like there's a delivery charge, or guess what? Now we're renting the pipe that's underneath. Now that all you have to pay is a rent on that, and there's other things that they can add to your bill to get money that's not covered under this protection that they call.
It's funny that you mentioned the Comcast thing, because my wife and I just stopped by Comcast. It's like, man, the bill is crazy right now, right? Mm-hmm. So my regular services, I believe, cost me about like $130 for Comcast. But then
your end bill's $340,
right? But my bill is like $223.
Yeah, there you go.
And I went there and I was like, what am I paying for? And it was like, it comes down with all these different charges for everything. If you have all the different boxes, and it's like but then the lists of like just charges for stuff that I don't have a choice on whether or not I get it or not. Right? It's crazy. It's crazy amount. So that's the same way. And what was brought up earlier was after the 5 years. They can't, after the 5 years, just be like, all right, we're raising it 100%. They have to go through the Board of Public Utilities and Rate Council.
Right, and that's what he's trying to say is protection. But that's not.
Yeah, he's kind of giving this. Well, look, there's people that are looking out for you.
Yeah, the government loves you. Yeah.
In the next clip here, Kate Delaney from
Food and Water
Watch
yeah,
talks about the Resiliency and Environment System Investment Charge Program, which is kind of a loophole.
Oh yeah.
For these companies to say, well, I know that we're only allowed to do the rate so much, but we have to, outside of that, it's kind of like the way we shift money for taxes when we have, we have tax caps.
Oh, there's a tax cap. We can't raise your tax over 2%. Well, then how did it go up? Oh,
yes.
Well, because we're able to do it because of this. There's the same thing in this here. So them saying that you have some sort of protection because of this, board?
Yeah.
BS.
Smokescreen.
Yeah.
So let's hear what Kate's got to say about this.
Clip 5.
Good evening, Kate Delaney. I live in Collingswood, and I'm the South Jersey organizer for New Jersey Food and Water Watch. And actually, what I want to share connects to the question that was just asked about rate hikes for New Jersey American Water. I think hopefully other people will want to raise what seems like the larger than life glaring conflict of interest that you are selling the public sewer system to the company that your mayor works for. I want to talk about this idea of rate hikes, and that there are various safeguards in place that American Water is going to cooperate with. At the end of last year, the beginning of this year, the organization I work for, Food and Water Watch, was lobbying against a bill. This is S3184, called RASIC, which stands for the Resiliency and Environmental System Investment Charge, kind of Orwellian as so many bills in New Jersey are. And I can attest that your mayor was there to support it, and I was there to oppose it. I saw him in the room. So this bill really was about giving private water companies to raise rates and evade proper oversight and ratepayer protections by exempting a broad range of infrastructure work from BPU's current rate-making authority. Most egregious of all, RASIC will allow private companies to bill ratepayers for future work. Let me repeat that. New Jersey American Water will be able to raise rates for work that they say they are going to do on your system. And as a customer of New Jersey American Water, you will also be footing the bill for other systems they improve. So they just bought the systems in Salem. Congratulations, you'll be paying for the work in Salem as well.
Yep, congratulations, folks.
Yeah, so they changed that. That bill was updated to, I think, 4971 now. But it's called the Resiliency and Environmental Systems Investment Charge Program. That was voted on, I guess, last year, either early January, before our representatives were changed. So,
Yeah.
But Paul Moriarty voted yes on it. Gabrielle Mosquera voted yes on it. And then Madden. They all voted yes on it. So
Okay, interesting.
just, it's They're all part of the machine. They're all part of the machine. The machine thinks alike. Machine's got a lot of supporters. So yeah, like we said, and they can charge for future work too. So it can't just be like, man, this thing blew up. We didn't expect it. This is going to be, we got to replace this. So we've got to increase rates to replace this.
Yeah, they could just be like, oh, yeah, we're going to replace all those, pipes on whatever, Trues Landing Road, all the way up and down, and go down, the Black Horse Pike, and that's going to cost us $20 million. So, sorry, your rate's going to go up, and that's outside of, the protection that you have. And I don't know, is there a time limit? Is it that 50 years in the future you're going to do that? Or is it now? Or
what if they just decide to just rebuild the whole thing, hook it all up, and then what if they want to sell it off, right? So they just want to make it as great as possible. So then we're paying to make this whole system as great as possible. So then they can turn over and sell it. I really didn't realize how
it's very impactful,
shady, like private sewer and probably even private water is. It's you never think about it until it comes up in your town.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing to me about how public versus private, systems can be both a negative, or you know what I mean? It's like how is it that we're able, as I don't know, we've talked about this before, right? Of like, I would have never guessed that I would be on the side of the government running something over a private company, but in this particular case, it's almost the exact opposite.
The government,
we have protections.
Government can screw up. If government takes over anything, they undoubtedly screw it up, right?
Yeah.
I privatize. I'm all for privatizing so many different things because the government's just generally is less efficient at doing things. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to this, though, we currently have a really good thing going right now. They don't charge a whole lot. They're responsive to anybody's needs, even if the needs are outside of what they're technically contracted to do.
Right.
We've got a good thing here, and you've got people that they called out at remember we had that meeting where we had everybody over at the Knights of Columbus.
Yep.
And they started put flyers on cars talking about these evil people that were speakers, and Kate's one of them, and Dennis Palmer was another one. Now here's the thing that I think is great, right? Both completely different political spectrums.
Oh yeah.
Right. I mean, they don't. And it's that bad that both sides are going, this is bad, and we have to work together on this.
Yeah.
So
you're right. Yeah, the two of them couldn't be more opposites as far as their political, beliefs go. On a national, kind of a scale, as far as that goes. This isn't a political thing. This is it impacts your wallet here locally, and that's it.
But they're going to spin it as a political thing.
Oh yeah.
They're definitely going to spin it as a political thing. Yeah. And I don't care who you are or what you your bill's the same no matter what you're registered as.
Yeah.
So,
and this is a thing, you can go look it up. This was a stat that a resident in a privately owned system pays on average 79% more than on a private thing. So it's been happening throughout Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Don't take our word for it. Look it up yourself and find out. It's not hard to Google it. You can find the information and call somebody else a liar. It's not us lying to you. It's just the fact. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry if you don't like the fact. But, all right. So then we had another resident who's on here often, Dina Hendry, go up there and remind them about campaign promises that just happened, right?
Kate actually speaks louder than Dina.
You had it
on a
audio?
mic?
Yeah.
Man, in person.
All right, let's play here. Clip 6.
Good evening, Dina Hendry, Summerdale.
Good evening.
With the proposed desire to sell our public utility, I believe there's 4 sitting council members who ran on boasting how they have merged government agencies to save taxpayer dollars. But yet, within less than a year, these 4 individuals want to do the very opposite, and having homeowners, residents, and businesses have more money, because if it goes for sale, and let's say it's $60 a month, that's $720 a year for infinity, plus whatever it's going to be that we're going to have to spend. So I don't understand how the 4 sitting council members can boast about merging government agencies and now wanting to sell. How can you do that? Can you provide any answers? What changed last year when you guys were running to now that you want to sell it?
We explored the possibility that we had an asset here. We explored the possibility of selling it. It came back, provided a value to us, and now we're putting that out to the residents of Gloucester Township to decide whether to sell it or not.
Again, putting it on us.
So last year, you boasted about merging the agencies. You boasted about howing that there was a surplus, and a surplus with what the money is. But then all of a sudden, you had a bright idea to say, oh, let's see what it's worth. You got your vote. You got what you wanted, and now we're up for sale. Is that what it is? You guys are lying sacks of shit. That's what you are.
Please.
Lying. No, I have a First Amendment right. No, I can say whatever I want.
Vulgar language cannot be used. Please take a seat.
Where does that say it?
It's on the conduct. Please take a seat.
Oh man.
So yeah, I mean, hey,
She's not wrong.
they get their votes.
Yeah.
They get exactly what they want.
Yeah.
And then about a year later, they know that you forgot.
Right.
And they do.
And they're not up for election, so they'll
do the tax increases, they'll do whatever they want, and then the following year, when they're up for a re-election again, they're super nice, right?
Yeah.
Everybody forgets. So yeah, that's and you can't say bad words apparently.
No. Oh man, I just saw this. It's been kind of all over the internet, but in Union, New Jersey, there was a guy speaking out about the mayor at a council meeting and got arrested because he said, basically called him a name, and dude was arrested and pulled out of the meeting and everything. He's like, I'm not allowed to say. Oh no, you have to be respectful. Goes, I do not have to be respectful.
That's not the guy the stone cold looking guy, right? Is it?
I don't remember.
He calls. There's like you got to Google like the stone cold guy at the council meeting because he rips into everybody. He rips into like the Chiefs' uniforms.
Oh yeah, there might be that same guy.
Oh yeah,
he's like bald headed.
Yes, and then he shows up. He shows up like with a lawyer.
Right, that's who. Yeah, he had a lawyer with him.
Oh,
that
guy's awesome. But yeah, you can say whatever you want. It's not.
You have the freedom of speech.
It's not against the law to say whatever you want. It doesn't go well for the rest of the folks because at this point here, there were people that had their hands up before Dina went up that were probably going to get taken, but at that point they cut off the public portion.
So screw you, public. We're in power. Sit down, plebes. All right. After that, we went into the curfew, right? Because they cut off the public portion about that curfew. I don't know if you guys watched. Probably about a week ago or so, we put out a podcast that we did going over with that Gloucester Township Day incident, which led to the revision of the ordinance around.
It's like loitering.
Yeah.
Which is it's really unclear. I mean, it's like the next thing that comes up too after this, and where we're talking about we're going to ban like Airbnbs now. And it's like you're banning something that's not really illegal because it could possibly lead to somebody doing something illegal.
Right, which there's already a law saying the illegal thing is not legal, so you couldn't enforce that. But
if kids are loitering, they could just be hanging out. The kids they could just be in the park, like enjoying a nice day. But because they could do something illegal, it's a little I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little nuts.
Yeah.
There. But anyway, yeah, you guys can go back and watch that if you got time. Put it on while you're driving the car or something. But we had a person. Oh wait, did I?
Nope.
I did not skip anything.
Yeah, you skip. You're good.
All right, so this was the second reading. We had someone.
Next is ordinance, the second reading, public hearing, ordinance 0-24-16. Ordinance amending Chapter 45 of the Code of the Township of Gloucester entitled Curfew, the Code Book of the Township of Gloucester, County of Camden, and the State of New Jersey. This amends this ordinance to makes it unlawful for any parent, guardian, or any adult person having custody, care, or control of a minor, child under the age of 18, to knowingly permit such minor to loiter, idle, wander, stroll, play, or remain in or upon the public street or highways, roads, parks, playgrounds, public buildings, places of amusements, entertainment, or places of business conducted for profit. In addition, the violation and penalties, any person or person found guilty of violating any of the provisions of this ordinance shall be punished for the first offense. A person may be subject to a fine of not less than $100 and not more than $1,000, and up to 90 days of community service at the discretion of the municipal court judge. For a second or subsequent offense, the person who violates this chapter may be subject to a fine of up to $1,000 and/or community service for up to 90 days at the discretion of the municipal court judge. If both a juvenile and juvenile parents or guardian violate this chapter, they may be required to perform community service together.
Okay. So yeah, that was a lot of stuff saying basically we're going to allow you to not do things so it doesn't lead you to doing things that are illegal or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And if parents are involved, you're going to, or if the minor has parents or anybody an adult, they're in trouble too.
Yeah, well, that part of the child doing something bad and the parent having to do, some, I think we disagreed on that a little bit, but I don't know. I think we should bring the parents in a little bit more. You kind of made the point too, where hey, maybe some of these kids don't have parents. They got a grandmother who's kind of who's just trying to keep things together there. But
yeah, you guys can go watch that whole argument or not argument or whatever the topic out. But this particular lady came to the meeting saying she's got a problem with this here that impacted her personally. We'll play clip 8.
My name is Kimberly Rogers. I live at 800 Central Ave in Glendora. And regarding this curfew, on June 30th, there was a group of children out at about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. They were wreaking havoc in the neighborhood. They actually kicked in my door. So I called the police at 10 after 5 a.m. Woke up, my husband slept on the sofa, woke up to him screaming. I come running down the steps. Juveniles were running off my lawn down the street. I called the police at 10 after 5. I was told there was no officers available. My husband wanted to go after them. I said, no, the cops are coming, leave it be. At 20 after 5, the police still were not there. At 20 of 6, I'd made my second phone call to 911, and I was told by the same dispatcher, ma'am, I told you previously we don't have any officers available. They were working on another emergency. I freaked out. I yelled. I said, I have an emergency. A group of people just tried breaking into my home. They literally kicked my door in. At that point, my husband got in the vehicle and started driving around Lindbergh. He found these children ranging at the time, we thought, juveniles, we thought under 18. He found them at the PNC Bank. They were running through the PNC Bank. Tony Morelli's farmer's market caught them coming out of the bank area, running through his side yard. If the officers had responded to my first call or even my second call, they would have apprehended these juveniles. At 6 o'clock, the officer shows up at my home. 20 minutes after my fiance had already approached them. I was told recently that every one of the juveniles were identified. Thankfully, the neighbors in Glendora are community based. We want to keep our children. We want to keep our home safe. They provided me with Ring video. They provided me with actual still shots. I provided all that information to the officer. The officer came back to my home 7:30 that night, said they were able to identify one of the children who apparently was involved with the Gloucester Township Day. They were going over to the home to speak to the child and the parents. I got a phone call at 11 o'clock that same night saying that they were able to identify every one of those individuals. They spoke with their parents. I said, I have damage to my property. I want to press charges. I am now being told, and I'm assuming it's because they didn't apprehend them that same time. Now I have to go through different channels. So what's the sense of the curfew if, one, we did not have an officer in the Glendora area, even sitting on the pike, sitting over in one of the parking lots. Runnymede has them sitting off in different little spots here and there. There's no police presence in Glendora to stop these children from thinking they can run the street at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. So this curfew is great, but who's enforcing it? And why should I have to put out the additional money, which I have, to secure my home?
All right, so at 5:10, she calls the police. no officers available. 5:40, she calls again, no officers available. At 6 o'clock, they show up, and then she's kind of at the end there. She says that she's got to go her own route to get reimbursed basically for the door that they kicked in.
Right.
Now I don't know if she called the police and they were on the corner and they showed up right away, grabbed the kids, threw them in the car. I don't know. I mean, the police aren't going to.
Well, she made it seem that because that didn't happen, that's why she has to go these other routes, because they had to like catch the kids another day. So really, it's going to go a different route. I don't really know, but I think that what I got out of her, the gist of what she had a problem with there is what's changing the curfew going to do to actually solve any problems. There's already issues, and there's not even police to enforce that. It's along the same lines of both of our arguments of saying writing more laws to protect somebody, like just say the Airbnb thing again.
Yeah.
It's already illegal to go park your car on a neighbor's yard. It's already illegal to litter all over cite them for littering. Yeah. Why does it not, now they're not allowed to rent their pool out because you could litter potentially over there. No, there's already a law in the books that says that this is what you can't do. And instead of enforcing that law, you're going to write another law. And that's kind of what she, her basically gist of this whole thing was. But at the same time, she was also, I feel like, taking, not shots, but she was, pointing out, we can't enforce what we already have. It's already illegal to kick my door in. What does making the curfew have anything to do with it?
Yeah. And also, I mean, too, the police just grabbed them right there and got them. The police they're not going to initiate the conversation that says, all right, you owe her now $400 for a new door. I believe the police are going to do whatever penalties they can on them, fine them, community service, whatever. But the police don't get involved in the actual. No,
and I think that's where she was saying that because it wasn't, that's why she was having troubles getting that. She could, I have no idea. I don't know if she's right or wrong, in that, but that's what she's
I think
expressing and saying that that's why it seems harder for her to do it, because they didn't catch them right away. I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not.
So the chief kind of got
he got pissed.
He got pissed. He kind of fired back here, and yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Chief, that's something that
so there is officers working. You're completely wrong about that.
Ooh.
They were tied up on another emergency. I think that's what you're told. Now we're looking into whether the dispatcher handled the response initially to you and whether she handled it procedurally of notifying the supervisor. But I don't want it, there's this perception that there's not a police officer in Glendora is ridiculous. There's a police officer every hour assigned to that sector. The town is divided into sectors. However, if there's an emergency in another part of Glendora, I can't magically make another officer appear. We have to prioritize. If they're doing CPR, and I don't recall exactly on someone, unfortunately that takes precedent over the juveniles running. We do the best that we can without pulling officers from the other end of town. We only have X amount of people working in the middle of the night, and we do the very best that we can to prioritize calls and get mutual aid. And to compare us to Runnymede, man, that's just crazy. We have many more officers, many more calls for service than Runnymede does. Just as you see an officer sitting on the pike, I can tell you I can drive down the Black Horse Pike and see an officer. I assure you that officers are patrolling Glendora every single day, every hour of the day.
Yeah.
In comparison to Runnymede.
Yeah, no. Man. Well, jeez. Compare us to Delaware. Come on.
But yeah, he did get fired up there.
Yeah, he was fired up. I mean, look, you're in a public meeting, and all of a sudden somebody comes up and starts talking about how bad of a job you're doing. Yeah, you would get defensive. It's a sensitive situation. Look, if somebody was trying to kick my door in, and I felt like I wasn't being protected at all, I wouldn't feel like that, because, I mean, when seconds matter, police are minutes away. I mean, that's the police are going to catch them usually after the fact. They're not going to catch them while they're kicking your door in.
Right. But from her story, it was an hour later. An hour is different than
an hour's
later.
An hour's a big difference later. Yeah.
And there was a resident. We didn't clip it, but there was a resident that got up there and spoke on her behalf after receiving that sort of a lashing of like, how dare you criticize us? We do our job excellent. He stood up. It was like, my sister was a victim of a thing here. She has every right to feel that way, to express her opinion, and I agree. Like that, there's no reason she shouldn't have said what she wanted to say. The chief did recognize the way that he responded. I feel like because it was kind of like you said, like he's being attacked. He kind of in the heat of the moment response back to it.
Yeah, is that a
may not have been level-headed at that moment. I'm not saying it's right or wrong that he did that, but he did address it later on in the meeting with clip 10, I believe it was here.
Just want to address a couple things. First, the incident when we were talking about through the curfew, and I probably didn't answer it properly, and I apologize for that. I saw this incident, and believe me when I tell you, if we're going to try and do things a little bit better, I don't think it was dispatched properly, but the recordings are being listened to. We took it very serious. I know that night they probably didn't take it serious enough, and that responsibility is on me, and I'll fix it.
So yeah, he did address it later on. Take it for what you will.
Yeah, I mean, his first response was a bit out of character. Everybody, I've never met anybody yet that says anything bad about the chief. Apparently, just a genuinely nice guy, and usually handles things really well. Just I guess
blow his stack at that moment, but
yeah,
for whatever reason.
But did come back and kind of clear it all up. So I thought that was good on him. But yeah, I would be an hour later. Everybody, look, this is a town where everybody loves the police and nobody says anything bad about the police.
Right.
But yeah, I do think it's important when something like when the system does fail that you call it out.
Yeah.
Call it out and say that it failed.
I think that is important.
And then people will.
That doesn't mean she hates the police or anything because she called out. She said, "Look, this is what happened," and you can't fix it without doing that. I think that's why people do love the police here, because how Chief Harkins did recognize his own actions even to correct himself. So if he can recognize his own actions to correct things, I have every confidence that he can correct the actions of other, address actions that they found, not appropriate or whatever you want to say, subpar, and correct those. But we'd move on to a land ordinance.
The next preventative.
Yeah, the next preventative law that we're going to prevent laws from being broken, about laws that could be broken. Pretty soon, you're going to be not allowed out of your house. You're just like, listen, you break laws when you leave your house. You're going to be stuck there. You're not allowed out.
Yeah,
you can't rent your house out. You can't leave your house. You're not even allowed to have a car.
If it sounds ridiculous,
you could speed. If you have a car, you could speed.
It's the gun argument, right? The gun argument is that I can't carry a firearm on me because I may go somewhere and do some bad things with it.
Right.
The bad things that I would do with it, that's already illegal.
Right.
Right. But that's the gun argument. We're just they're trying to prevent something unnecessarily. So,
what clip do we have to get into this one here? 11.
Next is ordinance 0-24-13. First reading, introduction. There will be a hearing at the second reading. In order to the Township of Gloucester, County of Camden, State of New Jersey, adopting prohibited uses to the land development ordinance. This was initially introduced on May 29th and then tabled on June 10th. So we were advised to reintroduce this. This was basically amending the land development ordinance to prohibit short-term rentals. Short-term rental is a residential unit through a private transaction with or without an online service such as Airbnb, Vrbo, HomeAway, Flipkey, Tripping.com, Booking.com, and also bed and breakfasts. So this prohibits short-term rentals in all residential use districts and bed and breakfasts. Now open up for public hearing. Anyone wish to speak on this? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion. Second.
So somebody did later speak on it who is who's an Airbnb person.
Yeah, and I don't think that person was there when the public hearing was opened. I don't think. I know that there's a lot of people that don't know how public meetings work and don't know at what time they're supposed to say something, and it was like she was there for that. She could have been up there for 20 minutes talking about it. Instead, she waited until.
I know she sat behind me. I was all the way in the back. I know she sat behind me.
No, I know for sure she was there when this happened, and I'm like, why would she? Because when she got up later on, I remember like noting her coming in later in the meeting and saying, why didn't you go up during the public hearing for this? You decided to go up there and just regular. I don't know.
Well, if you want to learn about how the meetings work too. It's not a bad time to subscribe.
There you go.
To the podcast and kind of get an idea of. Look, we had to figure it out too, and we probably still don't know all about it, but we try our best. So subscribe to the podcast, gtobserver.com, and let's
turn the notifications on too while you're
turn your notifications on because we don't have a schedule. We come out
randomly on a Saturday.
We can get out sometimes. We're live on a Saturday.
We're here live. 122.
So next up on the list here is now eGov section. Dawn Sabella, former
He's a running mate of yours.
Yeah, former running mate of mine back when I ran with the Restore GT team in 2021. She sent in one long email with like 5 different questions on it. So we kind of broke those up into separate spots here. Start off with when did council receive the contracts?
This email is from Dawn Sabella at 1061 Choose Landing Group. Good evening, Council. In light of Ordinance 0-24-17, an agreement of sale on our wastewater system, aka MUA, and sewer utility to New Jersey American Water, I have the following questions. 1. On what date did each of the council members receive a copy of the sale proposal and contract for review? The 2 bids were received open on July 2nd here at 10:30 in council chambers, and they were made available on such date. The initial draft contract was part of a request for bids. Special counsel finalized the draft contract based on the highest responsible bid, and the final draft contract is available. It's posted on our township's website. I personally contacted all members of council after the bid opening and informed of the dollar amount that was submitted by both the firms.
I just had these visions of him calling people, telling them about
$143 million. But I think her next question was, did they read them? Right?
That's always our question.
Can we please have audible confirmation from each council member they have fully reviewed the contract at this time? Would anyone like to speak on that? I know we all have draft agreements that were sent to us.
I reviewed it.
I also reviewed it.
I reviewed it as well.
Audible confirmation.
Okay.
Like anybody was going to go, nah, I didn't read it all. Nah.
Right. Well, I think what her point in that question was like, did you just look at the number and be like, cool, and be on with it?
Yeah.
Or did you read the details of it? But let's get into her next question. Was 14?
Yeah. When's the stuff all going to be available so we can view it?
Right.
3. When will the contract be publicly posted for the residents to review? Number 3. When will the contract be publicly posted? It is posted on the township's website. The bid and the draft agreement, they're both on the township's website.
Okay.
All right. So it's all there for you to review. We're going to do a podcast coming up just about the sewer thing with some folks. And then during the meeting, when's the meeting, by the way?
July 27th at 4 o'clock at the Knights of Columbus. So for you machine people out there that need to know what date to go put propaganda flyers on the cars, it's going to be the same place, so you just show up the same place again and put your flyers out.
This time
we'll have somebody posted outside to watch the cars, see who it is.
I was thinking about like people hiding in cars. I really wanted to do that. I really wanted to confront the people. I was going to be there, but then I decided this is a really good opportunity for us to do like
we'll live
really
stream
good recording.
Yeah.
If we can live stream, we'll live stream. If not, we'll just do a full recording here with multiple cameras. So I'll be in there operating the buttons.
All right, Serge. Let's see, clip 15.
4. I understand that Megan Sartor of Hawkins, Delafield, and Wood LLP is handling the bid process and contract. What are the anticipated expenses payable by Gloucester Township to the firm? if the sale ultimately does not go through, and what are the anticipated expenses if the sale is completed. In regards to the legal fees to Hawkins, Delafield, and Wood, in the request for bid and the response to it, if the sale goes through, the township will receive up to $200,000 for a transaction reimbursement payment for any fees that were incurred in exploring the sale of the utility. To date, the township has been invoiced $61,099.33 from services from March to the end of May. If the sale does not go through, the township is responsible for the legal fees.
All right, so that caught me too. If this stuff goes through, we'll get some money for reimbursement. If it doesn't go through, currently we're in $61,000 in on this, just on this whole exploration process to save us money. It's cost us $61,000 to save us money.
So at like $500 an hour, which is probably a little bit high for that, they have 122 hours into this at this point in time. And how much do we know about it from that $61,000?
Right.
So more, maybe, I don't know, 375. It's somewhere in that range, 150 hours ish of time attorneys have spent on this.
So if it doesn't go through, we have to pay for their exploration.
Yeah.
Right. So who knows? It's going to be, when it's all coming out, it's going to be $100,000, $200,000. We're going to reimburse up to $200,000. So let's say it doesn't go through, and we've spent $200,000 trying to just explore it.
Right.
We're on the hook for that money now. So this whole exploration to save us money,
that's another
it's just
Tuesday.
costing more money.
That's another Tuesday for them. All right. So, or Monday, I should say. Clip 16 here.
And 5, what official documentation has the township received from David Mayer or his representative in New Jersey American Water or the representative in regard to David Mayer's obvious and direct connection with this pending sale as the Director of Government Affairs and Business Development from New Jersey American Water? Also, specifically, what disclosures has the township received about any incentives and or bonuses that David Mayer will receive should the sale go through? Thank you. In regards to the mayor and her comments, and the mayor's employment with New Jersey American Water, he, as I stated back in March when this was first introduced, he had provided a letter from his conflict counsel that advised that he could not participate in any discussions regarding the sale. He has not participated in any discussions, has not been copied, has not been part of any discussions between Hawkins Delafield, Mr. Cardis, myself, and Mr. Carlemere during this entire period. In addition to that, the bidder responded that they did not receive, certified that no official employee of the township assisted the bidder in the preparation of their bid. And in regards to any incentives or bonuses that the mayor may receive through, if the sale goes through, we're not aware of any incentives or bonuses. That's between American Water and mayor, if there is any incentives or bonuses.
Okay.
So they're not saying he's not going to get a bonus over it, or there's any incentives on it. They're just saying that he can't act on the township's behalf, although he's over at American Water. And even if he's not the representative that the township's dealing with, he's there talking to them.
So it all boils down to who's going to enforce it, right? Like if they already know that they have every lawyer, every judge, everyone is just going to be like, yeah, he signed a piece of paper that said he's not going to be involved. So that means he didn't do anything at all. He's not going to be involved at all. Even though there's people screaming like, how can you not be involved? That's literally his job to do this. He's doing it, this. How many hours were available, or how many hours did an attorney spend on getting to this point here before he said, hey, listen, I'm not going to have any involvement in it. It's not like they said, hey, we're going to start exploring this. I'm not going to have anything, involvement in it. And then 6-7 months later, it's like, oh, hey, we're going to put it out for bid. All that work was already done before you said, at this point in time, I'm not going to be involved.
He's working for them for years. This is years in the making.
Right.
Here, right? This is not.
Come on.
He didn't just go, oh, you want to do that? Oh, hey, I can't help you with that.
Right.
This is all done. This is obviously all done years in the making. This is his job to go out and talk to municipalities.
Right. He's hired to do this.
Yeah, he's the head of a municipality. So he's doing his job.
All right, so we have another Dennis Palmer who's going to be on the podcast with us coming up shortly. he gets up there and says, the kind of numbers don't make sense.
Dennis Palmer, Braemar Avenue, Blackwood. I'll keep it to sewer. I want to just get talking the 143 million plus 90 million additional work, to me, really gilds the lily. It really piles on the cost. And why I say that, I go back to the authority's audits. The last one was 21-22, where the total infrastructure was 64 million. Appreciation was 25. So your present value about 45 million. I go back also to the extra 40 million. Remington and Vernick report back in March 23 only identified 7 items. The 5-year capital plan and the audit that the authority had only identified 21 million. All these costs come back to the ratepayers. Right now, that 143 million, basically applying $4,700 of debt across the board of approximately 30,000 basic dwelling units. That's what's in the audit, that's in your report. What I'm looking at, that's a tremendous amount of cost being transferred to ratepayers. You can't deduct your sewer bill at income tax time, as an example. One of the things I also had is also looking at is the cost. We've already seen that to go past the 5 years. Haddonfield just went past the 5 years. They went up 50%. They're going to now to $44 a month. We're looking at our $43 a quarter. So you have those kind of costs being passed down to the ratepayers.
Yeah, so to kind of break that down, like we were talking about, the township is in debt. They have to use this money to pay down the debt. What they're doing is transferring that all of their debt to you. So by you not voting and you allowing this to go through, you're saying, yep, I'm going to take on $4,700 in debt that I'm going to have to pay back to New Jersey American Water, and that who now owns our system and who can raise my rates even further.
Yeah, and you've already paid for this before.
Right,
too.
you've already paid for this, by the way. So the only thing you're getting is maybe that will lower your property taxes, which are deductible tax item there, versus putting it into your pocket. I think he's 100% right on that point. And
this is the industry that he works in too.
Right. Yes. Correct.
So this is not just a guy that did some research on the internet. Right. This guy works in the MUA industry. Yep. So not here. I think he's in Landis.
The Vineland. Right.
Yeah.
So here we go. Clip 18.
The really serious concern Helen and I talked about one time is how the bill's going to be done. The sewer authority currently bills on a flat unit. A house is a house. A condo is a condo. So if I have a house, I get billed at the 300 gallons a day. I don't pay it anymore. Everything I see New Jersey America's billing is a bill on it per gallon per month. Anybody who waters their lawn is going to have their sewer bill go up. Anybody who waters their garden, washes their own car, waters their plants, is going to have their sewer bill go up. Every time the town fills up the street sweeper, it's going to have a sewer bill go up. None of this water ever get into the sewer system. If you go forward, you really got to look at a flat rate system, not based on a water meter, because it's not fair, it's not equitable. Every time the town fills its swimming pool or tops it off in the spring to make it full from over the winter, as most people lower their pools, they're going to pay a higher sewer bill, but the water never went to the sewer.
Yeah. So yeah, this is kind of a really big deal, especially now. I mean, look at the heat outside. My water bill is crazy because I've got a garden out back, and I'm trying to keep my grass alive. So the water bill it's insane right now. Yeah. And if this goes through and they bill it like they normally would bill it, which is based on water usage.
Yeah, consumption.
Yeah, you're like Dennis is saying, you're watering your grass. That water is never reaching the sewer, but because you're billed on consumption, it's almost as if it were going to the sewer because you're paying for it.
Right, and people, like Ray Polidoro uses the term to them before about you pay 3 times to flush your toilet, right? Once coming in and then 2 times going out. One to the GT and one to the Camden County.
Yeah.
So you got 3 bills. Well, basically now every time, like you're saying, you run your water, there's 3 bills you're going to pay for doing that, where before it was just the water consumption and it had no effect on your $46 a quarter bill. Just that alone is going to increase your
and what he's saying here is, look, if this goes forward, we have to think of a flat rate.
Mm-hmm.
Don't based on consumption. So he's thinking like worst case, the voters don't show up and this thing gets passed. At least put a safeguard in there. So he's telling them right now, look, before this is there is a referendum on this, you should work this in to where it is a flat rate and not based on consumption. So
Okay,
he's putting it back on them to say, look, in this negotiation process here, we like the 143, but if you do it, you got to do it by this.
Yeah,
that's what he's asking.
But the fair and the equitable part that I don't think it gets talked about very often is when you're talking about a ratepayer versus a taxpayer. The benefits that the taxpayer that owns a piece of land that doesn't have any sewer tied to it right now, their property taxes could decrease, or they're not going to have to pay back any, whatever the calculation is for their property taxes.
Yeah.
The debt services that we have, because all of the debt has been relieved, but that transfer of that $4,700 that went to each one of the ratepayers to pay back this $143 million becomes a benefit. I got to benefit from something that you're now paying. And so I think that's what
so
the argument is. And there's a lot of very well-to-do people that own a lot of land here in Gloucester Township that are going to benefit off of every ratepayer taking all that money, and now they took that debt, and I'm going to benefit from it. I've
heard them say that over and over again, but I didn't really think about that. There are a lot of people that own a lot of land here that are paying a lot of tax money for it. They're basically getting a break, and then the people that own the houses here, they're pulling their weight now too.
Or just even houses that are tied into a septic system, not tied into the public sewer system. So those houses, those individual houses, also benefit inequitably around that.
And then and the folks too, and this was brought up talking to a veteran. The veterans, I think disabled veterans they get a break on their taxes. Some don't pay taxes at all. I think it depends on the percentage of your disability. They get a break from taxes. They don't get a break from water.
No.
So this is going to hurt veterans. It's going to hurt seniors.
Well, yeah, senior. I believe I don't know. I've heard her mix, so I don't want to spread misinformation or whatever. But I feel like there is a program for senior sewer.
Okay.
But there would not be for American Water. I don't know. I've heard one person say that it exists. The other person say I was never able to find it, and I asked about it, and they told me no. So I'm not sure if it exists or it doesn't. But either way, the veterans one is a good point too. All right. So what do you have? American Water is not allowed to raise the rates like we talked about over the 9%. But as Dennis points out, if you did the math, here we go. I'm not going to tell you. Here, he can tell you.
Basically tonight. I think New Jersey American proposal has a fatal flaw, and it was not responsive to the bid documents. And I'll go back first to Aqua. Aqua, looking at the 9% that can be increased over the first 5 years, 0 for the first two, both the same. They were then 3%, 3%, and 2.7% increase for the third time. Why? Because once you multiply the initial increase by the next percentage, that comes out 8.95. New Jersey American, I say, has a fatal flaw and wasn't responsive because they put in their bid 5%, 2 and 2. Once you raise the rates by 5%, you raise that rate the next year by 2%. You raise that rate the next year by another 2%, come out to 9.24. That totally disregards the clear wording in the document. It's not responsive to the contract document. And certainly the contract document written as read by Aqua, when they multiplied the numbers out, they stayed under the 9%. So I say tonight, solicitor, you're gonna have to go back and review what I think is a non-responsive bid and has a fatal flaw as a major part of the bid is your wording says it can't exceed 9%. It cannot be raised more than 9% in total. That's the wording of the document. I think you have to go back, revisit that. I think you have to reject that bid. Thank you.
Are you crazy, Mr. Palmer? We are not rejecting that bid.
Well,
that bid is by the mayor's company. It was $143 million that's going to pay our debt down. I mean, No, okay, yeah, we'll look at it.
It's gonna make him rich. No, wait, no, it's not it either.
Right.
So I guess what he's saying is, if you raise the rate 5%, the next year, since the rate is already higher,
Right, the 2% is on top of the new rate.
So that's going to
Which
equal
was 5%
That's
higher.
going to be over 9% afterwards, and
It comes to 9.24 or whatever. he said it
they
was.
can't do it. So look, if there is something now that they have to go back on and say we need to make this change, all right, then also make the change on the flat rate.
Right.
Because you have to make a change now. So while you're going to do it,
Right. While you're in there,
here's your opportunity. Like you've heard the arguments for it.
right.
Do it.
All right. So then Ray shares his opinion on something here.
Oh yeah. Just
The mayor had no dealings with this as we move forward with this New Jersey American water deal. I'm guessing you meant that in the terms of his obligation as mayor. Might he been a little busy on his other job as a lobbyist for New Jersey American Water as to why he was not involved in the goings-on. But all that being said, he's your mayor. He's also the lobbyist for New Jersey American Water. And he has 7 representatives sitting right here that are an individual branch of government. And for a lot of years, with the exception of maybe twice, maybe 3 times, this body has voted unanimously on almost everything. Some of the most ridiculous things, for the most part, with the exception of one time in consecutive years, 14, 16, 18, 20, and 22, and I know you guys love hearing that, you've all voted yes for tax increases. If you didn't know any better, it's almost like a science fiction movie. They're referred to as Mind Numb Collective. And I can't believe that on an issue this big, where the people of Gloucester Township's sewer bill is going to go up so incredibly high that not a single one of you had a different opinion than your colleagues, or the mayor, or the council president. 7 people, 6 tonight, had not a different opinion on what was happening and what's about to happen to the people.
Yeah, I mean that point has been brought up so many times, and it is frustrating.
But yeah. I ask anybody. I go around town, ask anybody, and I've yet to hear somebody argue for the sale that's not sitting up there, right? So it's odd that if that's the consensus so far of everybody we've talked to, it's odd that those people in a normal situation would all agree opposite of what anybody you talk to out on the street.
Yeah.
So there's a motive. So there's got to be a motive somewhere, you know?
It's just, I mean, look, we're friends enough to sit here and do a podcast together, you know what I mean, like all the time. You and I disagree about things. Like I'm sure that you and I would vote differently on a certain topic, like we did the what the heck is it called? The curfew thing. Like we had a little difference of opinion there. There's other things, that we would disagree with. How is it possible that 7, not 2, 7 different people never have a different, like, no one votes no on something? No one, like, what is, it's...
Yeah, or even
mind-numb collective.
That's and good point too about how we would disagree on things, because I honestly didn't think of when you said when I said we got to put this on the parents, and the parents got to pay for this, and you said, well, what if they don't have? What if it's what's if the grandmother that has got a ton of grandkids and she's just trying to keep things together because for whatever reason, and I didn't think of that,
right.
And I think having discussions about things changes people. Well, it should change normal people. Like, and that goes with any political. Like, when you get into a political argument with someone, I've changed a lot over the years because I've listened. I've listened and I've thought, that's an alternate way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
That's what I ultimately would like. I would like more discussion from them.
Well, that's what's supposed to happen at a local level. Like when you're, not even politics. We're not talking politics. This is just how the government is supposed to function. They're supposed to represent us. They're supposed to listen to what we have to say. That's what workshop meetings are supposed to be for. When do we have work? This should have been a workshop topic, right? This should have been, hey everyone, we're talking about maybe selling this to the public-private company. Let's talk about it. People show up to me, but they don't want to hear. They do not want to hear anything that the public has to say. They want a certain outcome, and this is how we can get to that. We'll schedule a workshop meeting. We'll cancel it. We never put the topics we want to have on there. If it's something kind of we have to do, we'll put it up there. Show, but there's never that conversation, and that conversation can be had ahead of time before even getting to the point of putting it out for an RFP, before even getting to the point of how you need to put it on the ballot. How about you find out if that's even a topic that people wanted to hear ahead of time? Maybe you wouldn't be in kind of the position you're at now with there's a lot of people against this. I don't know what that's going to turn out like for them, but
I've thought about situations like this a lot over the last several years because I ran twice for it and I thought I don't have all the answers and I wouldn't sit up there and pretend like I do. I would want discussions with people on their thoughts of it. I would want people like Dennis to give me kind of the expert opinion on it, and so that I knew that when I made that choice, whatever choice it was that I made it be not based on my own personal thoughts, but a combination of my own opinion plus the opinions that I got from other people. And we don't have that discussion. And it's odd to think that all 7 of those people sitting up there are so strong-willed and knowledgeable that they're I know I'm doing what's best for you.
Right.
It's not that. It's I'm doing what's best because for the person that told me to do this.
All right, so we had one more resident get up there and just ask why they... Here, we'll play the clip.
Denise Coyne, Choose Landing. I read an article today that said that New Jersey American Water's building on the Camden waterfront cost $160 million. And they ended up getting $167 million in tax credits, in tax incentives. So that means you, me, and everybody in this room paid for that building. And if New Jersey American Water ends up paying $143 million for our sewer system, you, me, and everybody in this room is going to end up paying that money back to them. On top of the $160 million building that we bought for them on the Camden waterfront. And we'll be paying $143 million for something that's ours, that we already own. Why are we going to pay back $143 million for something that's ours and we own? And who's going to benefit from that? Not us. So who benefits? I would like that question answered. Who will benefit from that?
The sale of the sewer utility?
Yes.
That all debt will be alleviated from the township, $65 million worth of debt, $9 million annually. And before someone says this is the debt that we accumulated, no, that debt is in our park. That debt is in our police equipment. That debt is for the recreation that's provided. That debt is in the township pool. That debt is for the things that take place in this township public works.
That you guys all approved.
So, over years.
That you guys accumulated over years.
So
Correct.
that money will be returned back to the residents. There won't be $9 million in debt service in the annual budget. A penny on the tax is worth $450,000. Could you imagine an 18-cent decrease in the annual budget?
Okay, so you're going to decrease our taxes?
Could you imagine a decrease?
No, can you decrease our taxes?
Could you imagine a decrease in your taxes?
Yeah, I want to know, are you going to decrease our taxes by the amount of money that is not being paid towards the debt? So if you are not paying $9 million in debt, you're going to decrease our taxes by $9 million?
There is a possibility of a tax decrease if this...
Possibility of a tax.
Absolutely.
My question was, if you are paying $9 million in debt, are you going to decrease our taxes by $9 million?
I would advocate for that.
Okay, but that doesn't mean you're going to do it. And the other point is...
So I answered your question of what...
The other point is, no, you really didn't. You tried. But the other point is, if we ended up here, despite all of the residents begging and pleading for you guys to be more fiscally responsible and to decrease the spending, and Paul Krug meeting after meeting after meeting, begging and begging and begging and being ignored, what's to prevent us from ending up in the same place again?
we're going to eliminate all of our debt.
Those crickets. There's nothing, no answer.
They're going to eliminate all of their debt.
Right. They're going to pass their debt on to the ratepayers is what it is.
No, yeah. So they're going to eliminate their debt, which makes it sound great, right? But then you realize, okay, I'm just going to pay your debt now over here. It's like paying off a credit card with another credit card.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're not paying Bank of America anymore. Now you're paying PNC.
Somebody said to me, I watched that meeting and that guy said before we, you guys say it was the debt that you guys created. He goes into saying it's the parks. They're like, you should take a picture at Swamp Park over there on Silverdale Road. This is the parks he's talking about. Really? Thank God we have that.
Yeah, I cover Swamp Park. I would have loved to get to the bottom of how Swamp Park was created. Like who needed money. That we needed to send money to somewhere so they could go build it, so then they could give that money back for whatever upcoming election was coming back. Yeah. But yeah, then he starts off her comments with, look, American Water got $161 million in tax credits.
Yep.
And this is all part of the whole
that whole Norcross
indictment. Everything that happened here everything was so shady with the whole waterfront there. And so, but they're saying these tax credits, like the taxpayers paid for this. Right. The taxpayers paid.
They paid for that building down in Camden, and now they're going to pay again for American Water to now own our system, which we already own, and we're going to have to pay them back for it. Why are we paying back for something we already own to a company that we paid to put their humongous building?
Yeah. So for
free down on the
right in the middle of this whole Norcross indictment thing. We're still seeing all this stuff filter out here. Yeah. And it's it's been obvious to you and I and a lot of folks that are involved with GT Observer.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people also don't want to talk about the Norcross stuff because they're afraid of whatever.
Yes.
And you can see, I mean, from all the indictment allegations and all that stuff, it's kind of a scary situation. But
there was more talk about that nationally than I felt like locally. Yeah. Like there was this was on a lot of different things.
Local people were like, "What? I don't see."
Yeah, I don't know. And then there's the group of folks too that are like, if you're on Team Blue, right? He's the money guy for Team Blue, and he puts Team Blue people in there. Not really Democrats. They're just a machine using that party right now. But people are like, I just want my party in there, so I'm going to vote for all the evil people. Now, I mean, we'll see in November, right? Because November, not only is this is the sewer thing on the ballot, but his brother Donald Norcross is on the ballot for re-election for CD1.
Yeah, I don't know how much he's going to be affected by it. I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know.
I don't think it will affect him.
No?
No.
I mean, like they've said over and over again that they run this organization like a mob organization. Wasn't it? Don't mob organizations usually put somebody in government to kind of help them out? It's the same thing, right?
I'm not saying anything.
It sounds so obvious, right? And I feel like, all right, now that you all know what's going on, can we do something about it? Can we just make a change, right? Can we make a change?
Now that it's not just two crazy people here talking about something, or what other person talking about it, whatever you want to say. It's on the national news. The Attorney General of the state of New Jersey has indicted them.
Yeah, it's so obviously
they pled guilty, right? I think it was the day after this meeting that we just recapped. The 9th, I think, was his where he pled guilty or pled not guilty.
Not guilty. I was going to say what.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry.
No, they pled not guilty, and it's so messed up here that it's
going to
just
be interesting.
Like you wake up every day and you go, I wonder what they're going to do to us now. So I'd love to just not feel like that. I'd love to just be relaxed and just say, hey, those people that we elected, they're doing their things. I don't have to check up on them all the time. But it's not like that, right? Well, it could be. We could give somebody else a chance, and then we vote some new people in, and we scrutinize the heck out of them for like a good year, and then go, hey, I think we're comfortable now. I don't think we have to maybe go and press on everything.
Term limits, right?
Yeah, I mean, you need term limits, but also if we had term limits, if we had term limits, the problem here is, if they had term limits, they would just cycle in the next guy from the Democrat club, right? And because we don't have an outpouring of people that want to jump in and say, hey, I'll do that job. Mostly because they know it's a losing battle to fight to go against them. But
okay, but to the point of the machine isn't built in a year, 2 years. You know what I mean? It's built over a long amount of time when there's still going to be people funneling in. But
yeah.
Either way, I think we're getting way off.
If 4 council members dropped out, though, and just were like, we don't want to do it anymore, the machine already has.
Oh, yeah, there's
people. They've got a pool of people. They go, you're next. And then when that person says, I don't know anything about council, they go, you don't need to.
Do you know how to say the word yes?
Just, go up there and say yes.
Can you say here? Can you try not to mix them up? We have people that come mix them up, and they're like, they'll do a roll call for, a name, and they're like, yes. Like, do you mean here?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I mean here.
Yeah, look, you got one guy. The only thing that will benefit from term limits is the one guy who speaks for all of them, Council President Mercado. He wouldn't be there anymore. So they would have to have somebody else come in that can dominate. And the guy does an amazing job at dominating the council meeting. He's great at what he does. But that's the one benefit, but he wouldn't be there. But you would still have people from a pool of machine people that would be there. And it's almost like if you want to be involved in Gloucester Township and you're okay with being a part of that crew, you go over there and tell them that you're interested and do some favors for them, help them out with whatever, and they'll bring you in, and you're going to generally probably win the election because there's not enough opposition.
Right.
So
all right, folks, let's do a little reminder, too, to subscribe again. We have now 2 times in one episode to tell you to subscribe. That's pretty crazy.
Always forget that. Yeah, I always mean to do it right away.
Yeah.
But, GTObserver.com, Facebook /GT Observer, YouTube /@RestoredGLOTWP. And generally we're here once a week with a different episode.
Yep.
Sometimes it's live, sometimes it's recorded. Who knows, man? We're all over the place.
You never know.
Hit the notification bell so that you know when we